What's up, everybody? Before we get into the episode, I'd like to announce that we have t-shirts and other merch located on our website. We have the classic premium t-shirt with the From the Stash logo, definitely a popular choice. Then we also have a limited drop, 2 designs made specifically for our Las Vegas trip this month. Visit fromthestash.com/merch or click the link in the YouTube description section below.
This episode is brought to you by AC Infinity, leaders in garden innovation. From tents to controllers, AC Infinity can take your garden to the next level. The inline fans lead the pack with the ability to control all aspects of the equipment, along with the clip-on oscillating fan that changed the game, which all can be controlled with the Controller 69. Whether you're looking for individual pieces for your current grow, or you're trying to set up something completely new with one of their grow kits, AC Infinity has you covered from top to bottom. Use discount code THESTASH15 at checkout to save some money on your order.
I call it Dank Plasma now. Changed the name on my own.
That's your phenotype. I'm
mine.
a firm believer in renaming phenotypes. I hate numbers on this shit. I hate that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I hate when it's like number 47. It's like
that shit died in the 80s with the Halloween series. We need new, you know, Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 9.
Phenotype, that's Bob, there's Harry, there's Larry.
Well, think
No,
about
it needs
like,
to be Bob, Rod, Ron, Todd. You know what I mean? Like, you get a
yeah, dude. Like the thing is there's some cultivars that do that. Like some people for certain cultivars. Again, that white truffle, that's gorilla butter. It's a cut of gorilla butter. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Runts is a gelato cut originally. I think might be incorrect there. I think it's a cut and it's turned into, you know, genetics. Like that happens a lot. People will go buy Gorilla Glue number 4 seeds, which always throws me for a loop. But it's kind of where the industry's going. There's a company in Muskegon, Michigan. Shout out to them. They're doing their thing. No sponsor, no affiliation. Pricey fucking bud. Me, Trey, Wink went out to a botanical company yesterday in Lansing. Shout out Franklin Fields and Matt Mooney, the crew there. This shit won the gassiest, which I talked about that on CLtv. I fucking hate when people use gaseous for loud or terpiest or dankest, but the gassiest weed at the Zolympics. And it's very great storage. Like they store it great. It felt like it was, you know, cured properly. It was pulled in fucking March. So the fact that it was so fresh and quality was good. But again, there's nothing that's better that I've had so much better outdoor weed, not outdoor, homegrown weed versus this shit. Like for $50 a fucking eighth, I can't bring myself to do it. And I get when you're small and when you are a craft grow and your expenses are there, but I'm seeing from top to bottom, it's pretty damn cheap what these guys, their expenses are in terms of the cost for the pound. And to see the hype around shit like this is frustrating, man. I'm not a big fan, but it's decent smoke.
I've always said, man, if it costs you more, and I'll give you a big margin here, big margin. If it's costing you more than $5 a gram to make it on your own, you're doing it wrong, man. You're doing it wrong. Yeah. I don't care how much overhead you have. I don't care what I was going to say cents. Okay. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say cents. It's costing you more than $1 a gram. You're doing it wrong, man. You're doing it wrong. So there is no justification for the price.
Well, like one thing I wish in the term of runts, you know, like I've had a lot of variety of runts, and some people have like the actual runs, and it should be called like original runs or real runs, or like call it something a little different, because now when I see a runs, I'm like, meh. Same with a gelato. I'm like, meh, because so many people I feel like have the wrong cut, or it's not even what it is. It's mislabeled. So it's like, call something that you know is what it is, what it is. I know when I smoke white truffle, every time I've had white truffle, it's been white truffle because it's a cut. You know what I'm saying? Like people who are getting it, you know what it is when you smoke it because it's a cut that somebody paid for and got, and it's gone around its way all the way from Oklahoma to Michigan. So if people start to label things properly, I think we'll get the right genetics more versus all the variables with phenotypes. You know, there's too many varieties, especially once you start growing differently. We've got a company in Michigan called Rare who grows with aeroponics. All their shit has a little bit of a tinge to it, little flavor that's a little, I don't know what the fuck it is, a little weird, but
similar. Like it's got that, like a similar,
yeah, it all has the same flavor, like just a back end flavor to it.
Just to be a Debbie Downer here, man, I honestly believe that we've already kind of diversified cannabis molecular makeup a lot. Now, are we done? No, I don't think so. But have we have we finished isolating, or at least no, not isolating? Have we finished? I don't want to be just so closed-minded when it comes. Have we done everything we can with cannabis? No, I don't want to say that, because like, who was the guy that said after the microwave was invented that everything that's been invented has been invented? You know what I mean?
Fryer.
So, right, yeah, right.
Game changer.
So it's like, I'm not saying that we've done everything, but it's like I'm still looking for that weed that stands out all on its own, all by itself, like in a category, all by itself. You know, we've had some standalones where it's like, okay, it has these flavonoids that are very similar or not so similar to other strains, but then yet the high is the same. You know, you still feel it behind the eyes, you still feel it as like maybe a lethargic, maybe a narcotic high. But where's the new one? You know, where's the new one? Where's the one that's going to make you, I don't know,
You ever heard of
think
THCV?
a little more outside the box? THCV? No, I maybe.
So, this is going to be the new trend for soccer moms, I think, and it's getting put in cartridges a lot. Allegedly, it suppresses hunger, so it'll add to your entourage effect, but it'll help suppress hunger a little bit. So,
Oh God.
yeah, there's a lot of shit. Well, dude, in Indiana and in Texas, I believe they're working on this gene manipulation technology that'll increase THC up to like 20 or 40% higher than what it already is. Right? There's in Israel, they're working on a virus, a controlled virus, kind of COVID-y, that they can infect the plant with. So it'll increase the overall cannabinoids. So like there's some sus science out there that's going on right now, but it's more about where's the natural evolution of the plant. And nothing's natural when it comes to gene manipulation, when we're breeding and taking all these non-natural sources of cannabis, these hybrids, and crossing them more and more. I think there's going to be an accidental discovery versus a calculated one. You know what I'm saying? Holy shit. Whoa.
I think it's going to get even crazier than that, where they're going to take DNA from other plants and bring it over to cannabis, right? CRISPR,
Like peyote?
right? That's a thing. You know, you could take a plant that glows in the dark, for example, grab that DNA, bring it over to cannabis, right? Nobody's done that yet, at least as far as I know. But you can do that. You can actually bring DNA from some. Now, there's totally controversy, right? There's so many people that are like, no way, it shouldn't be done. That's not natural, blah, blah, blah. And then there's people who think it's for the good, that want to advance with it.
Yeah.
So I actually released a Garden Talk podcast episode recently talking about CRISPR a little bit with Cartier Crops. And man, the comment section, there were some people that were like, that should not be done. Like, they're totally against it. So, but yeah, we'll see. I think it's just inevitable. You know, people are going to start doing it regardless of what other people think, you know.
Well,
there's going to be
we don't
controversy.
control that shit. Like in terms of it'll just be in the market. Like the remediated shit. How many people know about remediated weed? How many people know about CRC fucking rosin? You know what I'm saying? Like rosin fucking extracts. How many people know about the shit that they're buying and they don't realize because there's no law in place or restrictions in place, so they have to say that. If somebody remediates their weed before they send it out for testing, there's no mark on it. It's just what it is. We just saw some shit yesterday. It was $50 for a fucking ounce. And it seems sus. It was probably PGR shit, just funky. It wasn't grown by the place we went to. They even said they're like, nah, none of our shit's that. Like, you know, we just bought it, but $50 for an ounce, dude.
I think that's what the future of cannabis is. I think that's what the future of medicine is. I think, you know, it's like we almost there was a time, a course in time, and we can actually pinpoint it, in my opinion, where medicine was so vast and so encompassing, and it included everything. And then all of a sudden, because of laws and misconceptions and perceptions and racism, if you will, we decided to take a category out of the medicinal pot. A lot of categories, in fact. You get cannabis, cocaine, whether it's the cocoa plant or cocaine, LSD. You know, there's a number of forms of medicine, if you will, that has not been explored since the 1930s. And it's like, it was at that time where we quit using all of the colors that were available to us. You know, we started to we didn't use the greens, we didn't use the whites, and we decided, you know what, we can still craft a picture of what it takes to make medicine for mankind, but we didn't include some very fundamental colors. You know, and I feel like now in 2022 we are exploring a little more with these colors, with cannabis and these other medicines, and we're starting to see that, well, wait a second, cannabis does offer a lot of medicinal properties. But if you include that with, say, some healing properties of aloe, and I don't know, maybe a moisturizing or maybe like a topical property of aloe, and you grew that in a plant, well, now you have a super medicine. I'm just going down a trail here. So it's like, maybe there's something to that. Maybe cannabis standalone is a miracle. But once we introduce it with something, we have, this new thing, this new great
that
thing.
could be the evolution, where it's not necessarily the recreational
and it's not
side.
Pharmaceutical. We're growing this in our backyard. Is it still good? Is it bad? Who knows? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I love to think it like I am.
Well, like if you think about it, like again, I always refer back to, it was a fucking great talk. We got to get him on the show. Todd McCormick, shout out to the OG. He discussed how a lot of genetics are so different than what they were once upon a time. They were bred for guerrilla growing. They were bred for short seasons. They were bred for avoiding, getting busted. So think about like a cultivar like GMO. Never have smoked that shit unless we were legally allowed to grow. Who would have a 13-week cultivar that they would grow? You know what I'm saying? Like, people are doing short cycles. Most commercial grows are doing that. And that's how back then, when it's guerrilla grow and cash cropping, same thing. So now as we're advancing, you may find a 15-week or some crazy fucker who gives you these properties that are really psychoactive. And all of a sudden you have a psychedelic effect because that THC is modified in a certain way. And all these different chemical compounds in the cannabinoids can mature more because of that. It's all hypothetical. It's all bro science, but
what a journey to go.
Yeah, because we don't know. We were given a short end of the stick, because while we did things underground, what was once there was suppressed because of business or because of laws or because of things that were out of our control. So now we're picking up the pieces. People are breeding and figuring out the new properties in cannabis and how terpenes affect everything and how the flavonoids and entourage effect, and really seeing the advancement in the science of shit that's already there, like shit that's probably been there for 1,000 years. We're just
Could you imagine
to figure out how to
weed
use it.
On LSD, man? You know what I mean? Could you imagine just injecting LSD into the weed?
Or getting some psilocybin properties in terms of like, because think about in terms of PTSD and things that they use for medicinal purposes.
Yeah.
So if you were able to really have that, or to have an edible grown,
and yet mushrooms
infused,
taste so bad.
Like to have a plant that grows with like an edible THC and CBD, and like, you know what I'm saying? Hybridizing a cannabis plant with melons.
And getting the best out of it. I rudely interrupted.
Crazy,
it's like,
man.
Mushrooms taste horrible. So could you imagine if you could just smoke it in your weed?
Yeah.
Now, I know you can drink it in your tea, but that's no fun.
No.
Two birds, baby. Two birds, one stone.
And that's where I think that the science, the evolution of where the plant's going to go, it comes to a lot of us. Because this is what I said about the commercial grow is, last year I was telling Trey, I wouldn't even entertain the idea of even wanting to go check out commercial grows, be a part of one, any of this shit. Now I see like they need us. They need us. The scientists need us. They need some of us who are a little more scientific. They need a Dr. Grow It to go into their lab and say, oh, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it this way. And they're like, okay, well, we have the tools and this is how we would. It's like, that's great. But cannabis is different than this.
The kids in the background add just great
you love that?
Sentiment to that point. Yeah.
Medical.
Yeah, they rival you for the mic there. It's good.
They're taking it. I'm going to go shut this fucking game off. I'll be back in a second.
They got a new Batman game. So they're trying to figure out how to play it. Now I like going down this kind of philosophical realm of, where would we be? Where are we going to go? Because, I don't believe what we're doing with cannabis is over. I just feel like if you just think about genetics in general, how long have we really been trying to genetically modify cannabis? I'm going to be conservative, or no, let's exaggerate. Let's say since the 60s. And I don't think we've been really doing it since the 60s. You might have had one or two people that were, doing something back then, but nobody was really exploiting the genetics in the 60s. But let's say they were, let's now do math, which I'm not very good at. So to now, that's 90 years? Is it? No, 90 since the 60s. That's 40, 50, that's 60 years since, right? Yeah, 60 years since the 60s. God damn.
Yeah.
Really proved my point.
62.
That's only 60 years of genetic modification, How much can you really get done in 60 years? I would argue not much, You can get
look at light technology, dude. Like, look at what from especially going into commercial grows. We went to shout out Root Weaver here in Michigan. Went over to their place late last year. So maybe it was early this year. I don't know. A lot of their shit was traditional green looking bud. It was good weed, no question, fire. Now they've changed up to some LEDs and their light spectrum's a little different. And the same cultivars are very colorful, purplish looking, green, all sorts of hues. And it seems like a lot of the stuff has just been technology advancements. Now you've got Samsung diodes and lights. Now you've got Philips fucking CMHs. You've got companies who are way ahead of the game or doing stuff that we need to use, but they don't know shit about cannabis. So again, if we merge and partner with some of these not partner, but if we get some of this technology from these brands, and influence what they're doing, it only benefits us and the consumer. 100%. I think that's probably going to be the quickest advancement is going to be the technology implementation to the plant itself versus the plant science advancement. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
They'll manipulate it via technology in that sense. External
to see
technology.
The fact that there's only like when you name big names in the industry, it's like sure you can name someone we all know, like the AC Infinities, the Gorillas, like industries, if you will. But it's like no one says Philips, nobody says Samsung. You know what I mean? Imagine the day that we start to introduce these names to the industry. Think about, and then some people are like, no, fuck that. I'm not going to inject mainstream or commercial names or brands into our industry. It's ours. Don't think of it like that. That's ignorant. Because what we should be doing is taking advantage of the resources, the manpower, the budgets that these companies have, and use them to our advantage, man. That's what you should be doing. Because to think that we shouldn't be including them is just foolish. Why should we struggle to reinvent the wheel when we can use the wheel to start from? You know,
most things aren't new. It's just kind of been rehashed or modified. You know, so it's like I think people will see we've already got a lot of the shit there. We just need to implement it into our field. You know,
this whole conversation is reminding me of back in 2019. You guys remember this when they first discovered that cannabinoids can be created using yeast. Remember that?
I'm going to say, yeah. I keep up on this information all the time. No, I had no idea.
2019, researchers found that. And, THC, I'm looking at an article right now. THC, CBD, there's a whole bunch of THCV, CBDV. So, like, these are not really found much on the actual plant, but, there's a way to actually use yeast to produce cannabinoids. And that was a controversy back when that first came out, I remember. So
we lost him. He started science. There we go. Okay, go ahead. Start again.
Lost me?
Yeah. Grow cannabinoids from yeast, and then it went out.
And then it cut out from there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. And then I read Yeasty Boys.
Since then.
It was a paragraph, at least. Go ahead from the top.
But just Google it. Cannabinoids using yeast, and you'll see that there are studies out there. Back in 2019 is when they found out about this. And so CBGA, THCA, OA, GPP, THCV, CBDV. So like it blows my mind that there are other ways beyond just the cannabis plant, other ways that we can get cannabinoids like that. And I know back then when this first news came out, a lot of controversy behind it. A lot of people like this shouldn't be done this way. This isn't natural, so on and so forth. I'm wondering if companies to this day, if they're using this process in order to produce cannabinoids and maybe put them in edibles or whatever,
No law against it. Like, you're eating bread edibles, Playboy. You got them bread carts. Like,
I'm smoking this bread,
huh? That's bread.
Listen to us, man.
It's weird.
That's too funny. I had no idea. That's awesome. I wouldn't doubt that we're coming up with GMO, genetically modified, organic trichomes.
So weird.
Cannabinoids. It's not really the trichomes.
Sorry,
right?
Yes, that's what I meant to say. So it's like I can see it as the future, man. So let's take all the best qualities from our white widows and our green cracks and we just inject it.
Because imagine you don't even need to go to the plant, right?
No,
you don't even need to go to the plant.
Yeast.
Cannabinoids. You can do a much
right on a dish
process.
Nothing illegal either, technically.
Petri
right?
dish.
How would that work? So the chemicals are illegal though, technically, right? So if
Yeast.
you were to state that's no, but what you would make from it, you know what I'm saying? Just like
The
meth. You could get with-
cannabinoids are technically illegal.
yeah. So
in
it still
some
be
in some
artificial.
states. Yep. Technically,
That's
it's not even the
interesting.
plant.
But this would definitely, like my boy Cody's saying there, Mystic. It makes sense because you could put that in beer. That would be how these infused beers are there, these infused drinks and certain things like that. You know, like a wheat ale or it's weird to me. It's fucking weird. But it's something that, again, it shows the advancements of the cannabinoid and where people are finding that this is obviously already there and there's ways that we can get this and use this properly. And then for those of us stoners who don't want breadweed, we're able to grow stuff that can fit what we're looking for right now already as it is. Like, part of me is like, why push further? You know what I'm saying?
And so
Why
that
push any further?
Musk has breadweed on Mars.
That is true.
You know what I mean? Because you don't need, because think about it. We on Top Buds, we reported a story. We broke a story. No, I didn't. We reported a story that you can now, science will allow us to grow plants without photosynthesis or without. Correction.
Without light,
we can without light, you can get photosynthesis. So if that's the case, well then I'm sure this bread bud is an advancement, man. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
And no pun intended, fully intended.
That's weird though. I think with I wish there was more advancement instead of in THC and things like that. There was a lot of focus on terpenes and how to make terpenes more
make terpenes great again.
Yeah, make terpenes great again, you know, and flavonoids. Like, it should be important because, like, why? It should be. I just don't understand why people don't focus so much on that. Even when you go into dispensaries, you see a lot of people don't even know shit about it. They don't know anything, you know. And the ones who do, they don't really know how to guide you in that because they don't know all the weed there. As where if there was a shelf, just like you would with beer, and you've got, you know, your myrcene, you got your linalool, you've got all the things you're looking for in particular, which also have an example of what the terpene properties are, then somebody could shop properly and then they know what they're looking for. Then even for seeds, when you go get those, every bit of everything that we're doing will be based on the right layer qualification versus you go get the shit that's 29 to 35% THC that does nothing for you but make you feel lethargic, and the stuff that's 19%, which is on the bottom shelf, which you avoid, is the one you needed. You know, it's weird how the industry hasn't found that yet, but again, they're following a bad blueprint. So I think if science would fucking show, which it shows, but
and that's where we need to be accepting of science. We need to be accepting of mainstream companies mainstream isn't the word I'm looking for. Just established, you know, established companies and the well-known names, because they're the ones that have already done it, you know. And you know, as you know, thinking as somebody who might be like diagnosed with some form of cancer, and they require a medication that has a number of different properties, whether it's your terpene profile, like you just labeled, you know, it's like, okay, I need a little bit of the limonene, I need a little limeine, I need some lyrosol, you know, I need a little, I need more of this, less of this, I need more of these, and then the pharmacist says, okay, I can actually have that for you ready in, you know, I don't know how fast yeast weed would be able to be formulated, but it's like, you know, I would assume it's like maybe it'd be like you just create it, you grind it up in your little mortar.
You got a quarter ounce coming out of the oven in about 45 minutes. Come on in.
Yeah, you should be good. I'll get you your shit.
Fresh out the oven.
Yeah, for now I've got this, right? You know, like I could see that happening, you know?
Well, like even these guys, people talk, you know, like, oh man, you know, Michigan, at least they put the terpenes on there. It's like, they really don't. They just say the percentage, you know. Right. I don't really give a fuck about the percentage, because especially the one that has the highest percentage, according to them, is the lowest flavor, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. I think that when it starts at the top and works its way down, most of us consumers who know about terpenes don't go to dispensaries. You know what I'm saying? If we do, we're getting something else, not so worried about flower. But the ones who are going there, they're going literally based on THC. That's the determining factor. We talked with a cool guy from a company, we'll just say, I'm not going to throw shit out there, but he was saying he had some super, super tasty pre-rolls, like ones that he thought were going to change the game. His colleagues and everybody said it's not going to be able to go. It's only 30% THC. What the fuck? Like, what's the world coming to when you've got something that's unbelievably enjoyable, affordable to put out, competes in the market, but the THC percentage puts you back? And a great example is like Trey was saying, nobody's buying Everclear to get lit. Like, I guess Wink may get Kamchatka and shit, but I've never looked on the back of a bottle of anything to see what the alcohol percentage is. Only when I was a little kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, real young. I was like, oh, what's the proof?
Yeah. You
Now I
want
want something to
flavor,
taste
you
good
want
and a good
it.
experience. Yeah, man. Like, that's what people usually do. And only in our space is the THC percentage the determining factor, but mainly it's by people who don't smoke weed. You know, that's the problem. They just dictate where the weed goes and how it goes. And it's like,
Yeah, we're still owned by big money right
Chad
now,
Bradway.
unfortunately. Yeah, it's the Chads and Brads that don't smoke weed that are still
There's cool
running
Chads
the
and
weed
Brads.
industry. You know, of course there's cool ones, but they're
like
not
a cool
the
guy
ones
named
running.
Chad, a cool guy named Brad, not necessarily Chads and Brads per se, but you know what I'm saying.
That's like the Karens. Sorry out there, Karen, but you get lumped into
I know.
a title. Sorry, but what do you guys think? You know, what do you guys think when it comes to terpene profile, and what do you think about the future of weed? You know, have we hit like that rock? Are we at the highest point we'll ever get? Do you think there'll be a better weed? You know, always interested to hear what you guys think in any facet of our conversation.
Yeah, man.
Because you know, I'm excited, man. I just even think, like you said, 5 years ago from today. You know, look at the advancement in LEDs. You know,
Dude.
and look what that's done.
Even look
for
at all the
us.
shit AC Infinity's put out. I go into commercial grows, I'm like, damn, you need some AC Infinity shit in here. But that wasn't an option when they got
That's right.
started most times, you know? And the technology advancements, I think, are really cool for us as growers because home growers kind of get usually the first touch of it because it's too hard to do a whole entire commercial grow with, you know, thousands of dollars worth of new equipment. So we kind of get the first run. And I think we dictate where the market's going to go eventually because as long as the black market's got dank, there's always competition according to the fucking commercial grows. So we're going to make them step it up. You got to step it up. You got to bring shit that's enjoyable, you know?
When you can order $90 ounces on the internet and it's considered quad A, that's 4 A's, ladies and gentlemen.
In Canada.
And in Canada. And I'm sure it happens in a state near you as well, but you know what it is. But it's like, if you can do that, but yet go to the dispo and spend $200 to $300 an ounce for triple A, which is stems and sticks with no sticky icky, it's like, there's a problem. There's a problem. Wrong people are running things.
Yeah.
It's just like that. And it's because we announced
for 40
an ounce doesn't cost $90. I'll break it to you. I'm sorry. It doesn't, let alone $320. Okay. Yeah. $90, reasonable. If you want to tell me that, okay, at $90 an ounce, I got to cover overhead. I got to pay rent. I got taxes. I've got regulations to jump through. I have inspections I got to deal with. Yeah. Okay. $90 an ounce. I'm seeing the return. You know, I'm getting something for that quad A. You know, so that's when
it depends though too, because like, so I'm not going to throw the people out there, names or nothing, but going into enough of these commercial grows, we see things from their costs to what they purchase it in other places. So in dispensaries we've gone to, and some are paying anywhere from $900, depending on the quality, usually low end, up to $3,000 for a bow. And any of you former street people will say, you know, there's no margins on that shit. You can't, there's nothing. So that's when they're charging these insane prices sometimes. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's not always the case, but a lot of times it's the case where their margins are fucked. They gave them a really bad deal. They're paying $2,200 for shit that isn't really gonna sell itself.
That
so they
sucks.
gotta, yeah, and it's tough, man. Retail's
$3,000
not
a pound is so 2003, man. Like it's so that's to think that hasn't carried over. Everything else in the world, like is fluctuated based on market, but yet weed is still ridiculously priced for some weird reason. You know?
Yeah. It's the thing is
even with the saturation, there's so much weed in piles.
Well, it's like Canada weed, like you were saying, the fucking nuked weed. You know, everybody's got their shit already essentially fried of anything good. So then the whole market is like, well, you get that shit, go ahead for 50, or you get Don Perignon, the top shit, the most exclusive stuff. But the problem is the most exclusive shit is never that great. It's always like, yeah, it's like my lower end, like shit that I wouldn't keep around. Like no meta, the fucking Chill Out OG is better than any of the shit that I got from Michigan. And Michigan did a great job. Not knocking them. I'm just saying And I was already telling Chris, I want to keep running them to find one that's a little better, a little more terpy, you know? So like, I really think that there's a fine balance between high quality product and game changing innovative stuff and just plain old good bud for a good price. There should be options for everybody, but the market, depending on where you live, isn't controlled by us quite yet. It is for other people who are spending their money, but we don't spend the money there so much. So they don't give a fuck. But me and Trey go in and straight tell it how it is. And these companies will get a little red faced and be like, oh. But then a couple months later, they'll discontinue a cultivar. They won't work with a company. They won't, you know, get to the point where they want to deal with a brand that is shit because we're like, hey, man, it's cool right now. But if you want longevity, move on, get away from that. We know as good consumers and as good growers, we'll know what's best. A lot of these guys just don't know. It's not always malicious. They're just ignorant. They're ignorant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you already consume the Chill Out OG? You smoke it yet or what?
Just a tiny little bit. I brought like a blunt up to Kalkushka, but I've got some here that I'm getting ready to do some shots of and finish up a couple of videos, and then I'm gonna smoke it. I'm gonna take these or boof it.
Oh, Jesus.
The thing is this one is like so phenotype specific because I can tell like Twitch exclusive where it's at. There's a phenotype that's going to be my exact, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, oh yeah. Because this was the same with the headbanger. The first one that I popped was close. It had a little sharpness to it, but it wasn't quite the dankness I was after. You know what I'm saying? The second one, less of a yielder, but whew, I still have her. Years later.
Yeah, the earthiness that comes from it is just it overpowers everything else. So if you're not into the earthiness at all, then it's not for you. You know what I mean? But some people
perfect.
Bear Family Canna says something that I really want to touch on. It says the more I listen / learn, the more I'm just trying to find good breeders / genetics. Bear Family, I bet you already have. It's not that hard to find. You know, yes, there's a lot of gimmicks, there's a lot of frills, there's a lot of all in your face, but honestly, the community is full of amazing breeders, of amazing genetics, and it's like you've probably already stumbled on them. You know, these are the Zazas, like the Beast Coasts. You know, these are there's so many out there that are doing their thing, and it's like you have come across them. You've already found them. You know, keep looking, but it's not as hard as you think.
Well, and it's like find what you like too, because I've got buddies who absolutely love all things ethos. I've never had one that I'm into. They're all been fire, just not my particular terp. As where I've not had one from Boston Roots or Karma that I haven't liked. They've all had that funk of the little bit of the fuel that I'm after, the actual gas, not the bullshit gas, but the actual gas. Cool.
Thank you, man. Thank you, River City Growing, with that gifted sub. We appreciate you.
Yeah, man, I can't teach this here. What's your guys' preferences on taste, terps, gassy, fruity? And this is a thing where like the science behind the terp that's there. Somebody was Psych was asking about, do we get them tested for the terpenes? I usually go based on my nose. My nose usually knows. I'm like, oh, that's kind of on the sweet end, or that's on this, like just on that. But if you're gonna get into the commercial space, you absolutely want to get to the point where you know your terpene, so you can let them know what it is and be ahead of the game, in my opinion.
I like the fruity, citrusy, gassy type cultivars mostly.
Yeah, I could tell.
Yeah, how can you tell?
Just based on the smoke that you had, like it seemed like because you kept it around. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's got one that you're gonna keep around and you bring it to us the first time we come there, I was like, oh yeah, it had that back end of a little fuel, the front end of a sweet, little fruity, but it was very distinct. That's what I've said before about like, why is there not weed that's out there that like, or why is there weed out there that isn't distinct, that stands apart? That's like, I remember smoking that. I'm not going to forget that one. You know what I'm saying? So everything should be that way. I want an experience with everything, whether I love the terp, whether I love the flavonoid or not. I want to be like, damn, that was next fucking level. I'm not going to smoke it all the time.
Dubs is kind of what sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say Dubs had that 5.5 or Dubs 555 had the Purple OG number 5 or number 3. Wasn't my terp at all, but damn, was it just such a unique, strong terpene, like crazy.
And that's what I was trying to say earlier when I meant like that. It's so saturated already. There's so many strains out there that are just so much the same that I'm like, there's no distinction, and that's the word I was looking for, distinct.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really looking for. I just feel like that's lost now. Everything all just tastes the same. The majority of. Now, to finish the question was, Gav, what's your favorite turkey? I prefer them all. I've got a pretty wide palate, to be quite honest with you. I don't go forward with my nose. I go forward with my head. I'm looking for the high specifically. It can be the best tasting. It can be I like the armpits. I like the foot, especially when it's growing. But I want it to hit, man. I want it to hit, and I want it to hit hard. I want to drool slightly out of the left side of my mouth. I want it so I can't see, I can barely even function. That's the high I'm looking for.
Narcotic.
Yeah, narcotics.
Yeah.
Head forward, then the nose.
Yeah, I like that, man. I used to be that way. I used to party hardy as well, but I feel like now I'm very, very, very big on terpenes and flavonoids before I even get to the smoke. Like, I know if I like it or not. I'm like, not my funk at all. Like, if it translates, that's the thing. Not always does it translate. Sometimes the terpene and the flavonoid don't match up. It's weird. And then now with all these hybrids, like the variety of the terpenes within that particular cultivar can vary. So like one phenotype may be a little this way, or before it's fully cured, it doesn't bring out those specific characteristics. So it's like everything's a little different now, man. It's really crazy. I think that's why I like the Karma Genetics Headbanger, because it's very sour diesel-y. Like that, it reminds me of a straight old school sour. So I like maybe a more simple palate versus like the Runts is like real distinct, different, like, whoa, what the fuck? I don't even know how to describe that to you. Like a sweet, chemically, I don't even know what the fuck to call it. Nothing makes sense of what I say, but it's very different. And that's where the advancement of all these new cultivars, they're blending terpenes, they're blending flavonoids, they're blending things that weren't there before. So you got to find what works for you, because what's good for me may not be for you. What gives me a uplifting, euphoric feeling may make you lethargic. It's so weird how that is, man. It's really about that. But
yeah, and don't get me wrong, there's bad tastes. Like there's bad tastes. I've come across not a lot, but I've come across bad tastes. I'm like, it was way too sweet. I'm like, sometimes you can almost have like a dessert that's too sugary, and you're like, oh, that was good, but I can get that. But generally speaking, I got a pretty wide palate. What about you guys in the chat? What do you think? I think the options were sweet, gassy, juicy. What do you guys think? Too sweet.
Yeah, there's so many out there too. Like this Lemon G again from Franklin Fields. We got now 98 gets ready to do a little R&D, a little product sampling, but for the Grill and Chill over here in Michigan, 2 weeks, not this weekend, following weekend. We've got 100 of these motherfuckers. Well, 98 pre-rolls, and the terpene on that shit is so unique and so distinct. Like, it's as lemon as it gets. You know what I'm saying? Not for everybody. Like for me, I'll smoke a little bit and I'm like, it's not really my cup of tea. You know what I'm saying? Just like, I don't really love grape, the flavor or smell of grape that much. Just not really into it. I like real grapes, but not artificial grape. That's where someone else would be like, dude, this is the most grapey dank shit ever. Like, everybody's going to have their preference. I just hope that everybody gets a chance to have their preference and not just mild ass remediated bullshit weed that just like they get high from.
Which, if we're not careful, that's where we're headed.
Yeah. If people, like I said, if us commercial growers or home growers fight the commercial growers and don't get into these spaces, it's going to be ran by these Chad Brad motherfuckers. Most of these Chad Brad guys will open up their pocketbook to you and say, please help me. I want to make a good business. I want to be good for the industry. Problem is, some other douchebag little street hustler motherfucker gets in
money
and not even with money, just with a big mouth, tries to be a little Pablo Escobar motherfucker and do their thing. And now they're on the legal side and they're growing mids like they did in the streets. And so now we have this being our indicator of the market value. And this is the norm. And this is what people do. They all go to fucking California, wherever the start of the shit is, pay to do a tour, get a consultant to come give them the same set. Like, it's crazy, man. So if we can get into it, we can change it. We can preserve quality weed, make sure everybody has it. Because we're the vocal minority in terms of the cannabis community. We're the growers. We fight for our right. We've got a lot of things that we do, and we're major consumers because we buy a lot of shit and then we put it into the market, so to speak. So if we let these motherfuckers do it, they're gonna ruin it. It's my opinion, at least.
Make terps great again.
Make terps great again.
It depends on what your definition of quality is.
Yeah, I think that's why, like I said, just an experience. There's gonna be shit that I may not love, but like me and Trey are really stepping back away from just what we love and like, what's the experience of this? This blueberry muffin that's been going around, but that Franklin Field had was fucking not my shit. Wink loved it, but man, was it just so unique. I'm like, that's as blueberry as it gets. Like, this needs to stay in the market. If you're looking for a blueberry cultivar, that's the one. You know, if you're looking for a lemon, that's the one. If you're like, we need more of that shit instead of just like, yeah, you know, the back end's a little, it tastes like a sweet cakey. Like, that's what everyone says when there's no flavor. It tastes like a frosting or like a, it's like, is that your wrap? It should stand out. It should be like you got to search for that shit in your head. Be like, It's like, what did you eat today? You know, I feel like that's that. I don't know, man. I want it to be an experience for everybody. It should be a good experience. Cannabis is too cool of a plant, too great of a thing for motherfuckers to just be like, what? I want you to be like, I remember that. That was crazy. Remember this one? Dude, like, best shit ever. Everyone should have that. Some people never get it.
It can be.
I feel bad for them.
It can be. Yeah, I feel bad for them too, man. I do that every time I hit this bong, bro. Yeah. It's like, wow, I remember this. Man, I always forget it, man. I do want to give a huge shout out. Make sure that you go to the From the Stash podcast Twitter account. From the Stash podcast has a Twitter officially, so don't miss a notification, guys. Okay. Wow, Steam Elements. Oh, you got it. I see. I was like, wow, it got me good there. Steam Elements. Anyways, make sure you go over to the Twitter, hit the follow button, and you won't miss any notifications. Anything that goes on with From the Stash, this is where you'll find out. You don't have to follow all, well, you will, but you don't have to follow all three of us to get From the Stash information anymore, okay? You can get it from One Stop Shop, and that'll be in the Twitter account. So make sure you can go and follow that From the Stash podcast over on Twitter. Now, of course, you can also go to the merch store down below. It's the Teespring. From the Stash podcast has got the version 2, sorry, version 2, V2 of the FTS podcast shirt. Make sure you go and check that out as well. Thank you to everybody that's already gone to do that. A lot of support. You guys are awesome. I think that does it. Guys, thank you so much for the love and support today. It was a hell of an episode. Thank you to the sponsors. Thank you to all the subs and the follows. We appreciate you. We will see you right back here, same place, same time next week for another live stream. That's it. Have a great weekend, guys.
Peace out, everyone.